Happy Wednesday, Brahm and Arthur, to my trusty colleagues that we meet every Wednesday and talk about something that's going on in the industry or something that's really there to help support our network as well. So I have Brahm Legru with us. Brahm is a Belgium-born psychologist, but he's also works as a sales entrepreneur, so really helps people around their sales process so that they can have a better customer experience, but also increase conversions and, drive profits. And I also have Arthur Callis, and Arthur Callis is a financial services expert. He also runs a dealer group. He's also an experienced financial planner. So great to have you back, guys.
Hello, Carly. Hey, Brahm.
Hi, good to be back. Hi, guys.
So yesterday we ran a webinar on the 3 fundamentals for growth. We were really looking at, for financial planners, are you going up in revenue, down, or out? Because we're really seeing a lot of financial planners now. I got a number the other day that came up, and I don't know how real it is, but they were looking at about 100 a week that were leaving the industry. So it's really interesting times. And we really talked about the 3 fundamentals. What are they? What do the businesses need to really focus on in order to start to grow and drive profit and revenue? And culture, I think, as well. And we talked about the 3 fundamentals being people. So making sure that you've got the right people in the right roles, but not only the right people, that you've actually got the right leaders. I often find in business that many leaders are leaders not because they chose to be the leader, but because they were a great technician or a great practitioner, and now they're a people leader. And they need to really make sure that they've got those skills in order to engage and drive their staff and build that culture. The second one was all about sales, because we know that every business needs sales, don't we? Because that's what we're here for. We're here to drive the sales. But in order to drive the sales, you've got to make sure you've got a really great process. And I want to get you to talk a little bit about that, Brahm. And then finally, strategy. You got to have the right strategy. You got to have the right vision. You got to have the right focus. Otherwise, you're kind of just spinning wheels. And what I found really interesting yesterday when we ran the poll and we said, where's your weakest link or where's your gaps within your business? And people said people, sales, and strategy.
So true. Yeah.
So we know that if we get those pillars right, and I always look at it from a foundation perspective, if we get those pillars right, then we can drive success. I'd love for you, Arthur, actually, because I know business strategy is really important to you, not only within your own business, but it's so important as a dealer group because you've got so many financial planning practices under you that you want to make them successful, don't you? You want to help them be successful. It's not just, you providing the license. You want success for them.
Yeah. So, you gotta play, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So tell us how what strategy means to you as a business leader.
I think the in our space especially, we've got to play a bigger game these days. As a licensee, I guess the traditional, compliance, service. It's got to be more than that. You got to have a vision for, the group and where you want it to head, because essentially what funds the direction of the group is people in the group, and you got to find that balance between delivering the services today, but working towards the services that you need to deliver tomorrow to enable these groups to be, thriving practices tomorrow. So, you got to take a leadership position. And so when you talk about leadership, it's sometimes, not sometimes, but, you got to be willing to make a call, understand and read the play, and actually start, I guess, investing in a solution set for your advisors to be able to tap into that's actually going to take care of the problems that they're facing and what's stressing them. And so in the presentation yesterday, we talked about the three things that have been stressing advisors the most, which is the research from Deakin University, and 82% of the respondents said the number one thing was the increased compliance burden, which is which is eating into that margins and profitability and utilization of time. The second one was the FASEA exam, which was about 50% And the third one was, going concern, cash flow, and the financial, outlook for the practice was what is keeping advisors up at night. And that's where the dealer groups, I think, or in our space, that's the role that we play. Essentially, we're an extension of the practices. We provide them with bolt-in solutions where they can have immediate access to outsourcing solutions, admin services, power planning services, compliance services, RegTech solutions, especially on the compliance front. We've woven in RegTech into our Xplan site so that practices have access to a tool that will then, within short time, give them an idea of the quality of their advice document, and then saves them time of having to actually repair it and or review it. And so, from a monitoring and supervision perspective, you tick the boxes, but the advisors have a tool that they can use to achieve that. So we've kind of already preempted that, those stress points, and that was just validated through the recent research. But like I said, you've got to play a bigger game in the dealer group space, because if you're not, if we turn our back to the single planner practices, because there's been a lot of, talk around the market where, if you're not a certain size, we're not interested. If that's the case, then this downward trend in advisor numbers is only going to increase because you're forcing potentially practices to confront the fact that they don't want to have to merge with other practices. How do they maintain their identity? It's a family business. One or two advisors. If they're forced to kind of scale up and partner up, and blend the culture and blend the client bases, and then have to change, their image and or brand with their own client base. That's something they may not be willing to explore. So you need someone neutral in the back that kind of gives them all those benefits without having to force them to follow that route. And so that's where we play. But those are the three things that I found were interesting that the research produced, and the point 1 and point 3 being compliance and going concern is something that we've been very, very focused on at Spark to make sure that we offer solutions towards.
And it ties perfectly to strategy, doesn't it? Those 2 points tie perfectly to making sure that strategy is right. It was really interesting because we actually had one of the participants say, should I be looking at leadership first or should I be looking at strategy first? And we chose the strategy because the leadership can come a little bit later, but that strategy, you've got to have that blueprint. You've got to have that guide, because if you don't know where you're going, then how do you lead your troops to where you're going as well? But it's not just, I think, and that's why we were talking yesterday about those 3 pillars. Strategy is critical, sales is critical, and leadership is critical. Let's go to sales. Bram, what are your thoughts about the importance of making sure you've got the right niche, the right process, just the right experience?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And look, I think one thing that I really definitely appreciated what Arthur shared yesterday was about that digital stuff, having a change program that actually looks at what opportunities financial planners have these days to tap into digital opportunities. From a sales perspective, that is definitely well and truly a huge opportunity. But I think the challenges that I see that people have very often is that people will start going to, spend money on marketing. And marketing is there to create leads. Leads then come in, they either call, they send an inquiry, they fill out a form on your website, whatever it might be. And then the challenges that I see that where often from a sales perspective, people just don't get it right. You need to always make sure that every single step is aligned to the same outcome. And let's just say that, yes, you're getting the leads, but then something breaks down in the sales process when people are taking up the phone call and having a conversation, or they're not responding the right way to the email, or they have finally now a potential client who's seeking advice right now. It doesn't mean that they will be, let's say, that they are considering, they well and truly want advice, but they're now sort of filtering, is this the person that I want the advice from? Is this the person that I will, confide in? Is this the person that I want to work with over the long haul and, give him all my funds under management? In that process, there's so many different factors that can really make it or break it. And if you already paid for the leads, wouldn't you want to make sure that you convert them? Especially if you've gone through lots of hoops and the likes to provide the right leads. I see so many financial planners, especially the ones that right now either have been going through the acquisition of a book or are just about to acquire a new book. Then they look at what they're getting and they think like, damn, if I would have known this, there's a skeleton falling out of the closet, because these are not the type of people that I want to continue working with, because they're not profitable. Like all of these sort of factors, yes, their strategy, and yes, their sales. It's about making sure that all of the ducks are aligned with one another, and that if you're already, let's say, overburdened by compliance right now and doing exams and all that sort of stuff, wouldn't you then want to make sure that the little time you've got available for client service, that time converts? And all of that sort of stuff is definitely in the sales arena. Having a science and an art that baked into your process that creates the right clients, and many of them, so that you can hit the targets that Arthur also clearly touched on yesterday. I think he said EBIT of 30% is best in class. Financial
30%, but with basically for practices to maintain their current valuations, they have to operate at a 40% EBIT is what the consensus is around the business broking space. So that's a massive jump. So you're cutting expense lines and or revenue increase on your lines, and on both you're gonna have to do both. Like you say, the complexity of I guess the sales process is increasing because everyone is buying differently now, everyone is engaging differently now, and if you don't have I guess the ability to capture interest or present yourself in that digital space, you're becoming irrelevant into your marketing strategy.
True. And having said that as well, I think it's also very easy to think that you're doing the right things, but still not doing it in the right way to convert. So you might, for example, write blogs, you might do videos, but if those things don't really help you to source the right clients for your business that actually are saying, yes, let me just sign it off and start working with you, what's the point?
Yeah, it's got to come from, starting off with the right, what is your value proposition for your clients that you want moving forward, and therefore segmenting your clients to actually make those mature decisions to segment off and out clients that don't fit your value proposition and drag down or increase your cost base to serve. So by simply choosing to not have as many clients and therefore as many staff is probably one of the first places you should really consider. And I actually had to go through that decision point myself recently. Like, do I increase my advisor footprint to service these ongoing service clients? I've decided to do so for this remaining year, because in this remaining year, we are in a transition phase with our ongoing service agreements. I know there's probably, about 100 or so clients that are paying us ongoing service fees that probably aren't high enough to warrant the service and attention of an annual review to be delivered by a financial planner. But I'm gonna see if we can upsell and increase our services to those clients, and then I'll make that decision down the line. So I'm in this transition phase, but that's some of the decisions you have to make. And the other role of technology, and sorry, Kylie, I'll just probably cut you off there, is really around, not only around the marketing strategies and your funnels, but it's actually how do you start to weave in technologies into your advice process, not in the sales process, but into your advice process to create that capacity and or efficiency of gathering data, completing forms, etc. So, this comes from your compliance documentation, electronic signatures, the platforms that you choose to work with, and even like platforms in the in the product space. There's some big decisions that you need to make there, because even platforms in regards to the investment menus that they provide, there's always this battle for advisors having to defend their advisor fee because of creeping platform costs and or investment management costs. And it's really the actual platform itself that these costs are channeled through, I guess the investment fee and or the investment management fee. And are you got the right investment if you've got the right platform partners that actually push those costs down as much as possible to protect your fee, so that you're not constantly having to defend yours, when pitching, to a new client or, retaining a client relationship. So it's a very complex, space. And it's like, where do I start? But that's the point around strategy is, you got to break the elephant down into small pieces and build a plan to actually say, this is the area that's hurting the most first. Got to address that, and then you roll out the remaining items that you need to.
Yeah, just hearing you say that, and I've been running my own business now for 10 years now. Business is complex, isn't it? Okay, there's just so many balls that we've constantly got up in the air that we're trying to manage and juggle. The part that I love playing in is the people space, okay? Because now not only do we have a complex business that we have to consider and all the balls that we're trying to juggle and getting the sales process right, but we actually now have to throw in people. And Brahm and I, with a background in psych, we know the complexities of people leadership. People leadership skills are absolutely critical, okay? Even to the point of, how do I communicate with my team? How do I manage underperformers? How do I provide feedback? How do I lead change? How do I make sure that I'm empowering my staff, engaging my staff, and creating that culture? And I've, as I said, I've been in business for a long time, and I know that I couldn't do it without my own mentors or coaches. Yet so many people tend to go for so long without reaching out and getting the support. And that was the whole purpose of us running the webinar yesterday, is that the reason we partnered together was so that we saw these were the challenges, and we also saw that there was a need out there in the industry to provide solutions around making sure you've got the right sales process in place, making sure you've got the right strategy in place, and also making sure you've got the right people in place and the leadership in place as well. Because any one of those breaks, the business breaks. Okay. And one of the things we touched on, and I'll just quickly touch on it now because I know we're getting closer to time, is we're running our final programs for the year. So we've got our leadership program, which starts on the 16th of September. Okay. And that runs for 6 weeks on a Thursday. So if anyone's interested in developing their people leadership skills, or they know someone on their leadership team that they could use some additional people leadership skills, and I think we know that, okay, then reach out to us, because that's what we're here to help with. Brahm, your sales program starts on is it the 11th of October?
That's right, 11th of October, 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks as well. And again, I think this is a perfect timing. We're coming close to the end of the year now. It's time to get some of the puzzles fitted right so that you can start that next year. We've had a really tough year in financial services. We've had FASEA, we've had all the compliance requirements, we've had the Royal Commission's impact still flowing through. I think the opportunity now is to really get some of those pillars in place. Get your sales right, get your business strategy right, get your people leadership right as well, in order to really make your business what I think you always dreamed of. It's so important that we get there. So we're here to help from that perspective. Brahm, is there anything else you want to add, or Arthur?
Yes, please. I just want to say that we will be making our calendar links available in the comment section below this video. So wherever you are looking at the video, we will add those links in there so that you can have a confidential conversation about either leadership with Arthur, strategy with Arthur, leadership with Kylie, or sales process with me.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Brahm. Arthur, a man of a lot of words. What have you got to finish?
Look, I think the reality is that many practices are there, out there right now. Just really the reality for them is that they're mining their asset, and they're not probably pulling what they need to out of the business as business owners. But the truth is that you're going to have to invest in such exercises to ensure that you've got the long game mapped out and where you're heading. I think the other realities is that without a digital strat and or a technology focus in your practices moving forward. I mean, we've got this issue with COVID around the country. I mean, if you're not at least considering that 3 months of the year, every year, indefinitely, you're in a lockdown environment, you've got to immediately address that. How is your business operation? How are your clients going to be served? And if you're not embracing technologies to lower your cost of delivery, I just think that you're missing out on a huge opportunity. But B, your clients are not going to be able to engage with you, and we're now under more and more scrutiny around an ongoing, I guess, annual agreement that needs to be in place with our clients. You need to start, educating your clients on what the way you're going to serve moving forward is going to be. And so you're in a transition year now, and this is the time to do it because you've got time to transition. Come 1 July next year, you don't have the same flexibilities, the tickers on in terms of getting those agreements back in. So, now's the time to make change.
Agree.
Getting that ready right now to protect your asset, because you're probably working, and some of you, essentially not for much. You're protecting your asset. Time to start to invest in a way forward, or find a partnership that's going to, provide you with these solutions as part of the cost base. So looking for more value from your dealer group, or working with a coach that can help you across these skill areas that Kylie and Bram have discussed. Change programs need good leaders in place. Do you have the skills as a leader to implement a change program? If you're going to be working with staff and letting some staff go, what's that going to do to the culture of the group, the mood around the office, and are you ready for it as yourself? So that's some training that you may need there. And in terms of the sales process, I mean, there's the advice process, but it's really around conversion. And I think the next big thing is, the remuneration models for advisors. I think it's under immense stress, where you've got, contracting margins, more pressure to demonstrate compliance to retain those incomes, but, fewer advisors and the cost of an advisor going up. So a lot of challenges out there, and that's where you need good strat.
Yeah, and don't do it alone. Hey, there's people out there if it's not us, there's people out there. So just don't do it alone. It's just not needed, not necessary, So as always, thank you, Bram. Thank you, Arthur. And thank you to everyone who's been listening. We will pop everything into the chat bar and reach out to us if we can help in any way. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kylie. Thanks, Bram. Thanks, everyone.